because the cycle of life and death also afflicts me, that I'm going to be meeting my Lord. I'm going to get a da'wah from my Lord, an invitation from my Lord to return to Him. And I'm going to return. So then the Prophet ﷺ said today, وَأَنَا تَارِكُمْ فِيكُمْ ثَقَلَيْنِ. But don't worry, when I leave you physically, I'm leaving behind for you two very weighty and two very heavy things. فِيكُمْ ثَقَلَيْنِ, heavy things. You can't mess with them. They're not, lightweights. They're heavyweights. And what did the Prophet ﷺ stated? He said, أَوَّلُهُمَا, the first thing is Kitabullah, the book of Allah. فيه الهدى والنور فخذوا بكتاب الله واستمسكوا به. He said, hold on to the kitab of Allah. In it is nur and guidance, and hold on to it. فحث على كتاب الله ورغب فيه, and then turn towards it. They take your guidance from it and incline towards it, and so on. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم قال, and after mentioning the first weighty thing and the heavy thing, the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم قال وأهل بيتي, and I'm leaving for you my ahlul bayt, my prophetic household. At that time in particular, who were his Ahlul Bayt? Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein. That one. Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein. And then what the Prophet ﷺ stated, he said, أُذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهَ فِي أَهْلِ بَيْتِي. He said, I'm reminding you about my Ahlul Bayt. أُذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهَ فِي أَهْلِ بَيْتِي. I'm reminding you about my Ahlul Bayt. أُذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهَ فِي أَهْلِ بَيْتِي. I'm reminding you of my Ahlul Bayt. 3 times, he didn't mention Quran. 3 times he repeated, I'm reminding you and I'm warning you about my Ahlul Bayt. In the hadith of Tirmidhi by Zayd bin Arqam, he said, be careful how you deal with my Ahlul Bayt. And on that same day, on the 18th of Zulhijjah, while making this khutbah, the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to reconfirm what he was saying, made a very, very historical and landmark statement. And he called someone by him. And he, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, himself first held on. فَاسْتَمْسِكُوا بِهِ, hold on to them. So the Prophet of Allah, as a demonstration of what he was doing and what he was talking about, he himself took the hand, فَأَخَذَ بِيَدِ عَلِي. He took the hand of Ali in his hand. Meaning, if I'm holding on to the hand of Ali, why shouldn't you hold on to the hand of Ali? And he picked up the hand of Ali and he said, مَنْ كُنْتُ مَوْلَى فَعَلِيٌّ مَوْلَى. وفي رواية من كنت مولاه فهذا, this علي مولاه. اللهم والي من والاه وعادي من عاداه. Allah befriend him and become the friend of he who befriends Ali, and become the enemy of the one who shows enmity to Ali. These ahadiths have plus minus 50 different turuq. Man kuntu mawla fa aliyun mawla. So if anyone may say, oh no, it's a weak, there's no chance of, it's tawatur, mutawatir. There's too many narrations for it to be regarded as being something, no. Man kuntu mawla fa aliyun mawla. That landmark statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the 9th of Zulhijjah, on the plains of Arafah, then in the wells and Ghadir of Khum, when he mentioned the wilayah of Ali karamullah ta'ala wajhahul kareem, and he instated him as his spiritual representative. His spiritual representative, and opened up the door of wilayah. Took place on the 18th of Zulhijjah. And this is where the Mahdi story starts. Why? Let's go to another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sunan Ibn Majah. Okay, and this is also a very, very critical hadith, right? It is also narrated in the Mustadrak of Hakim, because I'm clarifying this for people who are naysayers. In the Sunan of Ibn Majah, there is du'af, there is weakness in one of the narrators. But by virtue of the fact that it is narrated in Mustadrak Hakim through a similar chain of narrators with a solid thiqa rawi, right? It goes beyond da'if and it goes to Hasan li ghayri. Okay? Look at the words. The narrators, the isnad is one thing. Look at the matan, look at what the Prophet ﷺ said, and you will see how real it is. Prophet of Allah, remember this, Prophet of Allah said, hold on to my Ahlul Bayt and do not leave them, because they are the pillars of guidance with the Kitabullah. In Sunan Ibn Majah, it is narrated that Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala who states that we were the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when some children of Bani Hashim, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the children of Bani Hashim came along. When the Prophet of Allah saw them, his eyes filled up with tears, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and his face changed color. And he began to weep. And the Sahaba Kiram, because they love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so much, they couldn't take Rasulullah crying, and they couldn't take the change in the color of the face, of the facial expression of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then they said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we don't like what we see, that you are crying and so on there. Then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, he said, we, inna ahlu bayti ikhtar Allahu lana al-akhirah ala dunya. He said, we, my household, my ahlul bayt, Allah has chosen my household for the hereafter, and not for this dunya. Right? Not for this dunya. Right? وَإِنَّ أَهْلَ بَيْتِي سَيَلْقَوْنَ بَعْدِي. And verily, look at his prophecy. وَإِنَّ أَهْلَ بَيْتِي سَيَلْقَوْنَ بَعْدِي. After me, my ahlul bayt will be meted out with this type of treatment by his ummah. سَيَلْقَوْنَ بَعْدِي بَلَاءً. Bala, affliction. Who shahid Karbala? Bala'a. وَتَشْرِيدًا وَتَطْرِيدًا. What will happen to them? They will face calamities. They will face expulsion. And they will face exile. Who, Ya Rasulullah? Your Ahlul Bayt, whom you are saying you must hold on to if you want guidance. Your Ahlul Bayt will face calamity. Your Hussein will be martyred in Karbala. Your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will be martyred in Karbala mercilessly. Yes, that family of mine. Your family will be expelled. Yes, these are Sunan Ibn Majah. They will be expelled. They will be exiled. Read the history of Ahlul Bayt during the Umayyad and Abbasid dynasties. This is not Shia mentality. This is not Shia ideology. This is facts of history. Look at Imam Ali Zainul Abidin. Look at Imam Muhammad Baqir. Look at Imam Muhammad Ja'far as-Sadiq. Look at Imam Musa Kazim. You look at Imam Ali Rida. You look at Imam Muhammad Taqi, Imam Muhammad Naqi, Imam Hassan al-Askari. 99% of us have never heard of these people. Do you know who they are? They are the Sadat Ahlul Bayt. They are the masters of the household of the Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at their histories and look at the other members of Ahlul Bayt who are also Sadat from the family of Ali Zainul Abidin. Look at Imam Zayd of the Zaydi Shia group. Do you know who Imam Zayd was? Do you know what happened to him? He was crucified. During the Umayyad and Abbasid dynasty, he was crucified. Do you know who were his supporters? Imam Abu Hanifa, the man from the Ahlul Bayt, he was crucified and his body was unclothed and he was made to stay there in the city square without clothes, martyred, crucified for 6 months to a year. And in the 6 months to a year, Imam Zayd's body only emitted fragrance. Look at the history of Imam Baqir, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, Imam Musa Kazim, Imam Ali Rida, Imam Muhammad Taqi, Imam Muhammad Naqi. You will see all of them were under house arrest. All of them were expelled from Medina. All of them, not all of them, but they went through all of these difficulties. They were exiled. They had to leave Medina. They were made to stay. They were under house arrest. And every one of them, because of the influence, because of the nur, because of the spirituality of the family of Rasulullah, the leaders in charge were very fearful of them. So they keep them under house arrest. Don't come out. Don't meet with people. Don't do this. Moratorium against them. And each one of them passed away through what? Through the choice of murder of the Khalifs of the time. Poison. All Ahlul Bayt, all of them poisoned, all of them murdered. What is this? What is this? Now, if we look at the history, and there is no doubt about it, wallahi there's no doubt about it, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left 3 legacies. His first legacy was his spiritual legacy. And the spiritual legacy continued, which the Prophet ﷺ himself appointed in his physical lifetime. And he said, my spiritual legacy will be passed through Sayyidina Ali karamullah ta'ala wajhahul kareem and my Ahlul Bayt. When he said, man kunta mawla fa aliyun mawla. So he appointed his spiritual representative and he opened up the door of wilayah through Ali karamullah ta'ala wajhahul kareem. Then the Prophet of Allah established a second institution, and that was his political legacy. Because politics has to do with affairs of people. In his infinite wisdom, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, establishing the highest morals and principles of societal development, he then established a political institution wherein the people, and he established a government of God for the people, by the people. And the institution of the political institution of Rasulullah, of Khilafat, Ali received wilayat, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, bila tahqiq. بالتحقيق Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, without a shadow of doubt, by the consensus of Sahaba, was chosen as the first Khalif of Islam. So he established the second institution of the political Khilafat. And the third one was his intellectual legacy. And that intellectual legacy was given to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abu Huraira, and so many other scholars of Abdullah ibn Abbas, and so on and so on. And so many other scholars of Islam. They took on his intellectual legacy. Quran, fiqh, tafsir, hadith, etc., etc. They took on this. But in that period of time, if you see what the Holy Prophet ﷺ has stated about his Ahlul Bayt, you will see that that did not come to fruition. There hasn't been officially any time in history, with the exception of the era of Sayyidina Ali karamullah ta'ala wajhul kareem, and for a short period of time of Imam Hassan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that the Ahlul Bayt were both the political as well as the spiritual authorities of the world. Only twice. Hazrat Ali was 4 years, 9 months, plus minus. Imam Hassan was under a year. And Imam Hassan, in order to prevent bloodshed in the Ummah, as the Prophet ﷺ had predicted, took the Khilafah and he gave it away. He had the spiritual authority. He took away his political authority and he gave it away in the name of peace. That's how the Prophet said, Inna hadha ibni Sayyid. He is my son, this is a Sayyid. And he will bring peace between two great warring factions. And he prevented bloodshed in the Ummah of Rasulullah. But from then, you will notice that the political authority never rested in the hands of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Never. Genuine political authority. The Umayyads came. The Abbasids came. So many other dynasties came. That there was one period, there was a Fatimid dynasty. But we're talking from the bloodstock of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of Imam Ali Rida and Imam Hassan Askari, Imam Muhammad Taqi, Imam Muhammad Naqi. None of them were leaders, political authorities. Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala had a legitimate claim against the illegitimate claim of Yazid in terms of Khilafah. And you know what happened to Imam Hussein in Karbala. So historically speaking, Ahlul Bayt being the beacons of guidance in terms of political authority and spiritual authority hasn't happened in 1400 years. Yet the Prophet of Allah stated that if you want to be on Hidayah, then hold on to my Ahlul Bayt. Now comes the story of Al-Mahdi. Why? What didn't take place for 1400 years, plus minus. What didn't take place for 1400 years. The arrival of one man towards the end of time by the title, who will be known by the title of Al-Mahdi, who will be, according to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First point of Al-Mahdi, he will be from the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Mahdi is his title, Hada Huda. What does it mean? Mahdi means the one who is guided and the one who guides. Not only is he guided, but he guides others as well. What is his name but? Prophet ﷺ said, from my household on the end of times, there will come a man whose name will be on my name. Allahu Akbar. His name will be on my name. And his father's name will be my father's name. Allahu Akbar. His name will be Muhammad. And his father's name will be Abdullah. So he will be known as Muhammad ibn Abdullah. From the household of Rasulullah. Allahu Akbar. Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And you know what Rasulullah said about him? He said, Mahdi, this will be his title. Mahdi will not resemble me. His name will be like mine. His father's name will be like my father's. But Mahdi will not physically, outwardly resemble me. But most importantly, Mahdi will resemble me in my character. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. What is he saying? He said the Prophet of Allah is وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَىٰ خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Quran speaks about the character of Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, you have the most sublime character. Meaning Al-Mahdi, being from the stock of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will be a mirror of the akhlaq azim of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who is this man? Who is this man? And who is speaking about him? Who is foretelling about him? The Prophet of Allah is foretelling about him. Do you know what? You know, sometimes we think about, is he a normal historical figure, like maybe a leader, like a political leader? Like, you know what? We've had so many political leaders. Like we had great scholar, great leader like Umar ibn Abdul Aziz radiallahu ta'ala. We had some great khulafa in the ummah of Rasulullah. Will be one of those people? I want to clarify this point to show you how important Al-Mahdi is and what his spiritual position is. I'm going very slowly. I'm giving you small bite sizes. I want you to remember them. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated in a hadith in Sunan Ibn Majah, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated, "Nahnu walad Abdul Muttalib." We are the children of Abdul Muttalib. The Prophet ﷺ 1400 years ago is saying, we are the children of Abdul Muttalib. He said, and all of the children of Abdul Muttalib, from the progeny of Abdul Muttalib, Sadatu Ahlil Jannah, they are the leaders of the people of paradise. Who is this Mahdi? What is his spiritual station in the sight of Allah and Rasulullah ﷺ? Prophet ﷺ said, Nahnu walad Abdul Muttalib, Sadatu Ahlil Jannah. He said, who are the leaders of paradise? From Abdul Muttalib's family, the leaders of paradise said, Ana, me, Muhammadur Rasulullah, wa Hamza, and Hamza, Sayyidu Shuhada Ali, Amir Hamza. And he said, wa Ali, wa Ja'far, wal Hasan, wal Hussein, Sayyida Shababi Ahli Jannah, wal Hasan wal Hussein. And then he said, wal Mahdi. Oh, excuse me? Yes. Where is Sayyid al-Shuhada Amir Hamza in terms of time, in terms of history? And he's a Sahabi Rasul. Hamza is a Sahabi Rasul. Ja'far is a Sahabi Rasul. Ali is a Sahabi Rasul. Hassan and Hussein are Sahabi Rasuls. Out of them, one is a non-Sahabi. But what did the Prophet of Allah say? He's from my family. He's Nahnu Sadatu Abdul Muttalib, Sadatu Ahli Jannah. And he said one of them is Al-Mahdi. He'll be one of the leaders of the people of paradise. Al-Mahdi. Who are we talking about here? You know whose spiritual maqam is so great that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam stated. He says, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam stated. Oh, let me go to this hadith first. And I'm going to start off with this hadith because this is by far one of the most authentic ahadiths narrated in Sunan Ibn Abu Dawood by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu. You want to know the importance of Al-Mahdi, how critically relevant he is to the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu stated that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated, he said, Allah, if only one day of this world remained, tomorrow is Qayamat. If only one day of this world remained and the Mahdi has not appeared yet, it is so critically important for Al-Mahdi to appear that Allah will lengthen that day. Allah will lengthen that day until the Mahdi appears. Mahdi, you come, tomorrow I'll make Qayamat. But Qayamat won't take place until Mahdi doesn't arrive. Allahu Akbar. Meaning, what is the Prophet of Allah telling you? Qayamat can't take place until Mahdi arrives. And if it means, if it's the last day left, and this tomorrow is Qayamat, Allah says, okay, lengthen the day, let Mahdi come. Let the vision of my beloved Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam be fulfilled. Let a member from his household come and rule over the world to prove what the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, that if you hold on to them, you will not go astray. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ stated that he said, he will come. And he said, he raised up in a man who belongs to me, to my family, whose father's name is the same as my father's, who will fill the earth with equity and justice as it was filled with oppression and tyranny before that. Meaning, Al-Mahdi will be that chosen one from the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, that Qayamat won't take place without him. Number one. Number two is that Al-Mahdi will be the only person from the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the history of Islam, from the advent of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that will rule over the entire Muslim world. The whole world, Muslim and non-Muslim. Every dynasty ruled over a certain area of Islam. Al-Mahdi alayhi salam will rule from the east to the west, from the north to the south. And the era of Al-Mahdi, according to Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which will be between 7 to 9 years, will be such a blessed time that it will be the most auspicious, most beautiful time in the history of Muslims and the history of Islam. The Prophet of Allah loved him so much that he even described him. The Prophet of Allah said, Mahdi has a broad forehead. And he has a beautiful aquiline nose, which is a sign of beauty amongst the Arabs. And in one hadith, which is a da'if hadith, but purely for the sake of narration, okay, it's narrated by Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti, and is also found in Imam Daylami's Al-Firdaus. He speaks about Huzaifa al-Yamani radiallahu ta'ala, who narrates the hadith. He said, Al-Mahdi, he gave some of the signs. He said he has a broad forehead and he has a beautiful aquiline nose. And he said one of the other signs of Al-Mahdi is that his face is so illuminated that it shines. And in this hadith there, he says one of the signs of Al-Mahdi is that on his on the right part of his cheek, he has a mole. He has a tiny mole on it. But this is a da'if narration, okay? But I'm clarifying that with you. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam described this. And he said that he will be from my Ahlul Bayt. Now, in terms of us believing in him, in terms of us accepting him, in terms of us regarding him as someone of critical importance, if he's not already important to you already. You know what the Prophet ﷺ stated? He said, when you see Rayatu Sood, when you see black flags emerging from the east, it is one of the signs of the appearance of Al-Mahdi, the awaited Imam. And when you see the Rayatu Sood, when you see the black flags coming from the east, some say from the area of Khorasan, which is part of Afghanistan, part of Bukhara, Uzbekistan, and parts of Iran as well. When you see those black flags coming, then see it as a